Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a film that meditates on the nature of love and memory. You may remember Charlie Kaufman, the screenwriter, here talking about it. Here is a scene from the film.
I have some stuff that I probably should... I'm writing...
I'm sorry. Okay.
No.
Sure, no, that's okay.
I just have, this is...
Okay.
Oh, hey.
Take care then.
Joining me now is the director of the film, Michel Gondry, also one of the stars, Kate Winslet, also stars Jim Carrey and others. I'm pleased to have them here to talk about one of the most interesting films that you will see out there today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. There is something about you that reminds me of Charlie Kaufman. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's youth. You guys seem so young. Tell me about the collaboration, how you came to work with him, because you were renowned as a maker of music videos. He was renowned, obviously, because of that adaptation and being John Malkovich as a interesting, different, exciting film screenwriter.
Yeah, but don't think that's the hair. But
it may be the hair, yes. Kind of a Versailles look.
Yeah, everybody in Versailles is wearing...
Everybody in Versailles.
When we have a wig. When we come back,
yeah, exactly.
back home, we wear a wig, white hair.
Tell me about the collaboration between the two of you.
Well, I met Charlie like 6 years ago, and he was working with Spike Jonze and being John Malkovich.
Right.
And I had tried to read, I had read so many scripts that were really horrible, and I was really depressed because I came to a point that I really believed that scripts were boring. And I read his script, and I just realized that script could be just enjoyable and great and everything I dreamed of.
What made it so great for you?
Well, I think, first of all, you just like the character right away, the way you write them.
Yeah.
Then there is all the thing that I like about it's intelligent, but it's like heartful as well.
Intelligent and heartfelt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story, you're led into a story that surprises you every page.
You don't know how it's going to go from page to page to page.
Yeah, and it's always a surprise. I think that's very important. I think that's due to the way you write. It doesn't know how the story would finish. Or I mean, you know probably better. I mean, you talk to him.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. You made a film with him.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, what is it for an actress? Let's just talk about a Kaufman film, and then we'll talk about this particular film that makes it different to when you're working with a script like that.
Well, for me, you have to excuse me, I have a terrible cold. For me, the thing that was, I think, such a relief, to be honest, was that I was being asked by Michel to play this crazy, neurotic, wonderful American girl in a contemporary movie, because people are so used to seeing me play the more period roles that I have done in the more classical pieces and so on. So I really just jumped at this because it was an opportunity to do something, like Michel says, that I had also dreamed of.
But he hadn't made a lot of movies. This was not somebody who'd made a whole series of films other than music videos. How many movies had you made before that?
I did another movie, Human Nature.
Yeah, only one, though, Human Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't have a body of work that recommended him to you. He had what?
Michel had, what did you have?
I think the French Touch.
The French Touch.
I tell you, I had a good script. And it didn't matter who I was at the time, and I had to start very humble.
That is very true, actually. But even
thanks.
No, it's
thanks for saying that.
No, but when I met Michel,
yes,
I said, well, who is this director? I mean, I didn't really know anything about him just on hearing his name.
Right.
And then when I was told he had directed Human Nature and some of the music videos that Michel has directed in the past, I went, oh my God, it's that guy? And so I was incredibly excited.
Because that guy
Michel,
had what?
That guy had a totally, I think, Michel, a totally unique vision, in my opinion, that was, yes, incredibly fresh. And also, frankly, he had the guts to cast me, the classical, English Rose, whatever, in this totally different, diverse role. And so I was, I was
ready to go.
I was ready to go. But as Michel says, the thing about the script that was, I think, so fantastic was that it really is different on every single page as you go along. And as an actor, You know, you find yourself wanting to be challenged by new things all the time. And this, you know, this was very much a script that it kept us all on our toes, and it was very funny and also incredibly touching. And I felt as well, underneath all the kind of complexities of the telling of this story, it's a very, very simple love story about two sort of social misfits who are kind of meant to be together. And to me, the love that they have for each other is very sort of realistic. It's very true to life. You know, you can't have every day in a relationship as though it's the first day that you've ever met and so on. And
or the best day.
Exactly, and it had the sort of light and shade, and I really like that, because I think that more and more these days movies are kind of, they sort of, they're cautious and they sort of shy away from, you know, telling the truth, I think, in a way. And that to me was the thing about this particular script that Charlie had written that was so incredibly unique, actually.
This film is about the device to tell the story of love and memory is a doctor that can erase someone from your memory. Mm-hmm. So if you want to erase a bad love affair from your memory, he can just wipe it out.
Yeah, in the story.
In the story.
Yeah, so people should not get used to this idea, because I don't think it's going to happen soon. But I think to me
So what does that allow you to do?
Well, let's say you got a horrible experience in your life.
Yeah.
And you can't live with the memory of it. You just go there and you get it erased. So then you forget.
But as a filmmaker, that gives
I'm sorry, I was trying I thought it was in real life. As a filmmaker, yeah, what it does is like, it sounds a little science fiction, but in fact it's just a tool to develop aspect of a relationship that you don't usually see so much in movies. That's something we talk a lot with Charlie about, is like those little detail in a relationship, like how somebody are when they are just met, and how they are 3 weeks later, and how they are together 6 months, and how they are after 2 years. We don't really see that in movies, because basically it's all about the journey they have before they meet, and then after they're happy, they have children, end of the story. So we wanted to see all those different nuances that you go across.
But this is a movie that's going forward and going back and digging down and reaching up and all of that.
Yeah, the narration is little convoluted.
But convoluted would be a good word.
Yeah.
Convoluted would be a perfect word.
And also
Convoluted.
Pull it
very
off.
clear, very clear.
It's convoluted for sure.
But I think the emotion are really, we try to make them true.
Make the relationship true.
And the
emotion true.
Yeah, actually, I have to say that with my accent, Kate was always here to translate my English in English.
I doubled up as sort of actress stroke translator on this film, because for some reason I always found it very easy to understand Michel, and sometimes no one else could understand what on earth he was talking about. So he would give Jim Carrey a direction, and Jim would say, okay, what did he tell me to do?
So I would say, well, now I'm gonna do a close-up of you, Jim, and she would say, now he's gonna do a close-up of me.
I'd say, what he said is he's gonna do entirely coverage on me.
So Jim Carrey is also in this movie. He plays the love interest.
Yep.
You chose him.
Yeah, he chose me.
He chose you.
Well, it depends. I chose him, and he chose me. Like, he liked the script at the beginning, and we liked him. And Charlie and I talked together. And to me, he had something that are missing in a lot of actors, especially in Hollywood. Like, a lot of actors, male, they have this attitude, this kind of Marlon Brando syndrome, or I should not talk about him because he's alive, but let's talk about somebody dead, like James Dean.
James Dean.
Like the frowning actor, that's Jack Black, who calls them like that, and it's so right. Like, they
what
have
kind of actor?
The frowning, the one
frowning,
that's very serious about things.
Yeah.
Like all the actors, when they start to be a little famous, they have to maintain this very masculine image of being very serious, and I really don't like that, because at first I can't identify to that. So Jimmy has this kind of childlike quality, and he's very outside. So what I thought of working with him, I thought, okay, I have to put him outside in to get all this energy as he project outside, keeping inside, because his character was much more content, and actually Kate's character was the big one.
She was the Jim Carrey
and I used
character.
Kate, and we kind of plan, Kate and I, little tricks to make Jim out of guard all the time.
Off guard.
Yeah.
Because then I think God, I'm just thinking about that now that we did do a bit of that actually, not trying to sort of necessarily trick him, but Jim as a person has, you know, has a wonderful energy that's always very alive and kind of buzzing, and he loves to make people laugh, and you know he is very funny, and Michelle was always trying to keep him as contained as possible, and Michelle would always get me to be big and loud, and I would say to him, what do you mean do more? And he'd go, bigger, do it bigger, the whole time, and I just for whatever reason I just thought, well, you know, I've just got to trust him, otherwise I'm not doing this properly. And Jim was always really brilliant about that, though, wasn't he? He would always say to Michelle, you know, you've got to tell me if I'm doing something that you've seen me do before or that isn't Joel. You have to tell me. And he was very concerned to make sure that he was as consistent with the character as possible, and that he was indeed very different from all the other parts he's played before. And he is in the movie. I mean, he's nothing like anyone has ever seen him in any other movie.
But if I could correct one thing, I don't think I really tried to contain him. It would be more, I tried to... I saw him on a set of another shooting when we were preparing, and I saw him in between two takes. Like they had to reset one take, and he had to go down the stairs, and I just realized, like, in between the takes, he was like a little bit different, and it was really touching. And I just got the tape. I just found this DVD of Living Color.
Yes,
that's
I
how it started.
I used to see him on the set when he was doing In Living Color 100 years ago.
I don't know if you noticed, but at the end of the show, they all go forward, and they, like in Saturday Night Live, you know, they all say thank you. And you have always Jim. It's totally lonely, and he's the back, and it's so charming. And I don't know what's going on. I have to call him and find out what's going on in his head. You see this kind of skinny guy. He's just here. And I really wanted to capture that. And I thought to get that on the screen, I need to mess around him. Create a chaos.
Yeah, there was a kind of bewilderment you wanted to create. Does that... No, that's not
this word. I don't know. Can you learn?
A sense of not knowing quite what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Being slightly vague.
Totally. Yeah. And sometimes he would be a little upset in the beginning. I remember we tried to find words to not say action, because when you say action, everybody starts to stiffen. But then when he saw the dailies, he understood, and he he became totally relaxed.
Michelle would keep the camera running a lot. I mean, we used a lot of film stock because it would just keep running, and between takes, which for me, you know, was sometimes difficult, because not only was playing Clementine a wonderful experience, obviously, but incredibly exhausting, because she is larger than life, and she is, you know, neurotic and sort of on fire all the time.
All right, here's a scene in which Clementine, played by Kate, talks to Joel. Basically, set this up, Michelle. I can't resist having you do this. This is when he wants to, basically she says that he should try waking up to stop the procedure, because what is happening in his head is that all these scenes in this experience is being wiped out. And she wants him to stop the procedure. Just set it up and give it a context for me before the audience sees it.
Okay, that's a little bit like a dreamlike quality. So he's in his mind, and now he realizes that what's happening, and he realizes that he really loves her, and he doesn't want to lose her memory.
And Clementine is in on it now. You know, she is aware with him that this is what is happening, that his memory is being erased. So she's within the memories with him. So they're trying some
tricks to wake up, and honestly, it's something I've done many times in my dream, to try to wake myself up, because I realize I'm in my dream, I just get scared and want to wake up. So he's doing stuff. He's pulling his eye with his finger,
trying to wake himself up out of the procedure.
Roll tape. Here it is.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's working like gangbusters. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, what is that? Jesus Christ, what the... It's a bird! It did work. For a second.
Now, for many people who even love this movie, you got to pay attention. You got to make sure you're focused, because it's going in lots of different directions. That's on purpose. You want people, almost like reading a difficult novel.
Well, I don't know. It's not. We're not trying to be difficult on purpose, but it's like we don't take people for idiots. We think
for idiots.
Yeah, we think like maybe they could use their brain a little bit. And the good thing is, like, I remember Charlie saying, like, well, if they don't get it, they can go a second time. And in fact, a lot of people go many times.
So many people. I mean, friends of mine who have seen it, they very graciously phone afterwards and go, just saw the movie. Oh my God, I want to see it again immediately, and they feel very kind of energized by it. Yeah. And in fact, I mean, it isn't. I mean, I personally don't think that it's confusing. There were times when we were shooting it when I was incredibly confused.
But you will give me, you have to pay attention.
You do, yeah, you do have to pay attention, but at the same time, it does. You almost have to just sort of surrender to it and let it take you where it's going to take you, and if you're on the ride, then you're on the ride, and if you aren't, then you aren't. But it's one of those movies that has an energy that does kind of sweep you up.
If you're not on the ride, it wouldn't seem to be fun to me if you don't get on the ride.
Of course not.
If you're resisting where it wants to take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the difference in the Clementine, the real, and the Clementine in his mind? There is
no difference. It's simply that the real Clementine, or certainly some of the sides that we see in the present,
right.
There's parts of her that are, she's a little bit of a cow. She can be a bit of a bitch. She's not that pleasant all the time, because those.
Cow is an English expression that means
cow
what?
Means
jerk.
Bitch, basically.
Bitch, right.
Yeah. But there are some parts
of the expression too.
Yes, from Versailles ghetto.
Yeah, right.
There are some parts in the present when Clementine and Joel are at a bad place in their relationship. So you see her, doing a lot of yelling and screaming at him and being very critical of him as a person and so on. And then a lot of the memories that you see, a lot of the sequences that Joel walks into through having this memory erasing procedure done, you see parts of their relationship that were incredibly touching. And the thing about this story is that the memories are erased in reverse order from most recent to most past in their relationship. So as the movie goes on, rather than things getting worse and worse, they almost get better and better, and you realize at the end of the story just how perfect they were and how incredibly heartbreaking it is that they've done this awful thing to each other, that they've had their memories erased, and all memory of this wonderful, crazy relationship it's gone. And that's where I think it's really quite moving. In a very surprising way,
they have lost
too.
something so
So incredibly.
So is that the point that we shouldn't forget any relationship, regardless of where we're going?
Well, I think every relationship, good or bad, teaches you something, and it teaches you a lot about yourself, and maybe not to repeat the same mistake again, or I don't know, something like that. But in this case, it's almost about two people turning away from maybe absolutely the relationship of their lifetime. Yeah. And the wonderful thing is, am I allowed to say what happens at the end? Well, a lot of people have seen it now.
I think so, don't you? Yeah.
I don't take this responsibility.
You don't think what?
I don't want to be yelled at, so.
No, well, the thing.
I don't want to be yelled at.
No, the thing.
Who would yell at you?
Oh, many people.
Listen, I think this is a really great.
Well, name one.
Producers or something like that. But basically,
you're allowed to tell us.
When they've done this and when they have erased each other from each other's minds, fantastically, a very short time later, they meet again as complete strangers.
Right. And they don't know it.
Well, that's the beginning of the story.
And that's the beginning. Don't complicate things, Michel.
The story is like the change of hour. Like every 6 months we change hours.
Yeah.
And it's been going for 30 years. I remember when it changed, I was like 10 or something. And still now, after 60 times, people are asking, well, we are gaining or losing 1 hour? So the beginning of the film has little disquality. Is that before or after?
Yeah, it does have that.
Well, I think to come back a little bit, I wanted to say something about, is that the real Clementine in his mind? I think it's obviously that's his point of view of her, but she becomes alive and she becomes a real person. I think when you're in love with somebody, you start to talk to this person in your mind, and this person gives you answer you would not expect. It doesn't feel like you're talking to yourself, even though you are. So I think it allows us to make her real, even though we are seeing her most of the time through Joel's mind.
The film is called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Kate Winslet, Jim Carrey, directed by Michel Gondry.